Hey, Crimson Tide fans, welcome into Week 4 of the Alabama Adapted Athletics Coaches Show. I'm Dom Taylor, and with me this week is men's wheelchair basketball head coach Ford Burttram. Coach Burttram, thanks so much for being here with me this morning, and happy early Thanksgiving.
Hey, Dom. Thanks for having me this morning, and happy Thanksgiving, bud.
Yes, absolutely. Before we get into this episode, as always, want to thank Honey Stinger, the sponsor of the Alabama Adapted Athletics Coaches Show, as well as the program as a whole. Honey Stinger, a sports nutrition brand. They use natural sweeteners in their products. They will assist our athletes this season in preparation, performance, and recovery for all upcoming competition this year. And be sure to look for their products like the Honey Stinger Energy Chews and the Waffle Bars in any retail stores you can find them in. And thank you so much to Honey Stinger for sponsoring Alabama Adapted Athletics. Coach, after a couple of weekends of no play, you did have one game earlier in the season, but finally the Trust Shootout just last weekend, you were able to play a few games, and the team now 3-1 on the season, 1-0 in conference play after a good victory over Auburn. Iggy Ortega had a triple-double according to our live stats program. He had 27 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 assists. And Peter Barry, as well as Eric Francis, they had a great game on the floor there as well, 14 and 13 points respectively. And then Sean Doss doing a great job underneath, locking things up with seals and screens. And the biggest thing that I noticed from this game, Coach, is the points in the paint margin. The Crimson Tide completely dominated by a 46-10 margin according to our stats program. Talk about how that went for you, and just really what was the secret to pulling off such a great statistical margin there in points in the paint.
Well, we work on really attacking all the time, attacking the basket and attacking the paint, and our big showed up and attacked the basket. So it was nice to see, and I don't expect it to always be that big of a difference point margin-wise, but I do expect us to have a good bit of points in the paint. We are a pretty big crew.
Now for Auburn, they went 10 for 24 from beyond the arc. They love to shoot things from long range and mid range. They do a lot of floaters and things like that. So that also led to their shot selection, the points in the paint margin being in your favor. But how do you defend something like that when Auburn is such a great team from beyond the arc? They've got a lot of very good precision shooters. What's the game plan like for that when you've got a lot of players like that to deal with? So
you got to really identify in transition who the shooters are, where they are on the court, where the ball is, and what they're looking to attack. We had a couple of late rotations in the first half early. A couple of guys got hot, and they weren't our really hot reads. So we had to make some adjustments on the fly. Auburn is a good basketball team. So hats off to them for knocking down their shots, but we got to defend the arc a little bit better.
Talk about Eric Francis' development from last season into this season. He had some good production, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago. What have you seen from him this season and how he's developing?
He's a workhorse, man. He's a beast. He's strong as an ox, and I'm really happy to see him performing in games. He's just got to get more comfortable in his role and more comfortable around all the chaos, and so I think he's working really hard to do that. So Eric's a hard worker. He's done most of the work on his own. I'm really proud of the way in which he is performing and the way in which he is working too. So
you've got some more senior members that have so far up to this season gotten some more minutes. Austin Smith came off the bench in the Memphis game. He contributed 6 points. Grady Gordon, Luke McDowell working into that rotation as well. How important is depth going forward in this season, being able to rotate guys in and out and keep that same production?
Well, so they've all got to live up to the standard, right? So I think having them 2 or 3 years under their belt and understanding the system and starting to figure out what true work is, that is a natural occurrence for some young men. As it takes a little while, other young men come in and get it right away. So I'm really pleased with our older crew that has learned how to work a little bit, and really pleased with our younger crew who showed up and knew how to work right away. And they're all intertwining together and really working towards one proper goal.
Now, finally, that ABC Medical game. Obviously, you're very familiar with Michael Alprince. He's your new assistant coach for this year. But you faced him on the court in that game, and he's such a mismatch, even for your squad, who has several bigger guys on the team. He's just such a big guy, and he's very fast as well. What was it like trying to how do you defend somebody like that? It's a good lesson for later in the season when you might come across some guys similar to that. But, that was the one game that you guys dropped this weekend. What happened in that game, and how do you try to game plan for athletes like that in the future?
Well, so first of all, that ABC team is very good. They've got two U.S. members, former U.S. members. Lindy and Ryan Hines would have been USA players. Lenny Bridges has been the last couple of USA tryouts. Lindsay Zerbrick is very good at what she does. She is a scoring machine for the women's USA team. And then you've got Michael Allprince. So, and Carolina Linguita when she gets back healthy. So that crew is very seasoned and really good at what they do and very smart. So game planning for them wasn't specifically game planning for Michael. Michael had probably a show out game, which he wants to let the boys that he is coaching know that he can still play, right? There was some of that involved. He's a really, like, not the most athletic man in the world, but he will not be outworked, right? So his work ethic is what's gotten him to where he is, and he's been gifted the gift of height. So it makes him really, like, diabolical, and he played a really stellar game. He knocked down some shots that I've never seen him knock down before, so hats off to him for knocking down his shots. We got to do a better job of identifying where he is, identifying where the ball is, and making sure that when he's in the paint that we're pressuring passes on the inbound. We also have to do a better job of identifying the threats around him and making sure we eliminate those. It wasn't Michael by himself that beat us. It was Michael plus 3 outside shooters plus Ryan Hine finishing in the paint. That, and we lost our cool. Myself included, a technical foul towards the end of the game. Really uncharacteristic. Not that I don't get fiery, but for me to lose my cool like that is very uncharacteristic. And I got to do better, and I got to present myself better to the boys. We made some really good runs in the second half. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot with either a technical foul or a turnover after we had just gotten a steal. When we really had our chance to really kind of make a run at them, we kind of got in our own way. So we've got to learn from that and learn how to handle adversity a little bit better. And then we just got to be more positive with each other on the court. So I think those little things will help longevity-wise and will help for our the rest of the season, future planning.
Looking towards the rest of the season, the next biggest test coming up is Whitewater. It's going to be a huge tournament coming up. Several college teams are going to face Edinburgh, UTA, Whitewater, Illinois, a lot of teams that usually make a run for it later in the season in nationals, the Crimson Tide included. And so can you give us a preview on what some of these teams are going to, what they individually bring in terms of challenges that this Crimson Tide squad this year is going to have to get ready for and face when they take that trip to Wisconsin?
Well, so each team brings a different package, right? They all 3 of them play a different style. All 4 of them, sorry. They all play a different style, and they all have different ideas of how the game should be run. And we've got to be able to play our game. We've got to be able to react to what's on the floor and what's in front of us and be able to defend and be able to really attack whatever they present, opportunities they present-wise. So there's a multitude of different things. Having 2 games a day, it's tough to prepare for them, but you've got to really do that in the game space and the way that we play it here in the collegiate wheelchair basketball division. So really excited about the adversity and the challenge to get to play some of the best teams in the nation, get to see what they look like. You know, there's been a bunch of coaching changes throughout our division, and the 2 teams we play on Friday, Whitewater and UTA, both have new coaches, so it'll be interesting to see how they put their spin onto what's going on with those programs. And I haven't really ever coached against those 2 guys, so it'll be interesting to see what they bring to the table and what they try to do to us.
Finally, what's the message for your squad right now? Just after the Trust Shootout and heading into Illinois, what are you really trying to work on in practice this week and from a mental and physical aspect to get prepared for that tournament?
So we're trying to work on really being where our feet are, where our tires are is what I tell them all the time, and winning each possession, right? So it doesn't matter what happened on the last possession, and you can't worry about the possession after the one you're in the middle of. You got to win each possession. So it's really focusing on the task at hand and doing things one thing at a time. And then really just being the best versions of themselves, right? And making sure they understand what our sets are and what our inbounds plays are and where we're supposed to be on whatever we're working on. So really preparation that way, and then making sure their mental space is correct too, trying to make sure that they're in the right headspace to be where we need them to be come game time.
Well, Coach, that's all I have for you in terms of preparation for Whitewater. Lastly, just before we go, I asked this question to Coach Hines in our last coaches show last week, but I got to know, just because it is turkey season, when they lay out the spread, when it's Thanksgiving time and it's food time and we're all hungry on that, that Thursday, what's your go-to? What's the first thing you're clocking when they set the food out on the table?
It's usually deviled eggs, man.
Deviled eggs?
I'll usually eat them like
okay.
they're going out of style.
That was out of left field.
Yeah,
I wasn't prepared for that one.
and then the honey ham, man. I'm not a turkey guy.
There you
really.
go.
I'm not a turkey guy, so I like honey ham, and then sweet potato casserole is always a good one, but I'm up for whatever, man.
Of course. I'm a foodie just like you are. I'm totally with you. But I like deviled eggs, but I was not expecting that one as the first thing.
That's my first thing.
All right,
without a doubt.
Well, more power to you. There's probably going to be plenty left over for you as well if somebody's putting out deviled eggs. So
maybe.
Good for you. Well, Coach, again, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks as well to all of our sponsors: of course, Honey Stinger, Hollister, RGK, Jalapenos, Physiolite, ABC Medical, Truist, WVUA, and Powerade. Thank you, everybody that sponsors the program. Our next live streams are going to be on December 2nd and 3rd, live from Whitewater, Wisconsin. As we just talked about, those will be available on BamaAdapted.com. Follow us on socials, Alabama Adapted on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And, of course, check back in on this YouTube page for weekly episodes of the Alabama Adapted Athletics Coaches Show. Again, I'm Dom Taylor for Coach Ford Burttram. Happy Thanksgiving and a great rest of your day wherever you're watching and listening, and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Happy Thanksgiving.